I just went to the doctor 3 weeks ago. To make a long story short, they said my eyes was bleeding. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. People with sickle cell are likely to suffer from a thing called sickle cell retinopathy, a pernicious yet underrated side effect of sickle cell. And it needs to be addressed that sickle cell pain crisis isn't the only way that you can have symptoms from sickle cell. And so in this video, I will take you guys on a journey exploring the different ways sickle cell affects you in your eyes, including sickle cell retinopathy. But before I do, don't forget to subscribe and like the video and make a comment so that in the future you guys will be shown more of these types of videos. And without further ado, let's get into the bloody video.
I can't believe it, man. I can't believe I went to the bloody doctor and the bloody doctor said my bloody eyes was bloody.
Nah, but for real, let's talk about it though. Like, you don't go to the eye doctor and expect the eye doctor to tell you that there's blood in your eyes. And when the doctor said that to me, it reminded me of them horror movies that I was not allowed to watch as a kid. And that just kind of leads me to, where this kind of all started. So growing up, I never understood why my mother, who also had sickle cell, would say things like, "You have beautiful eyes, your eyes are so bright," so on and so forth. Now that I'm older, I understand that she was affirming me and teaching me how to see myself. At the time, I was being bullied in middle school because the white parts of my eyes were yellow. And that white part is called the sclera, by the way. Man, shoot, y'all might see my eyes being a little jaundice right now. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? In hindsight, the culprit was always sickle cell. And this article by Sickle Cell Disease News says that jaundice is one of the most prevalent manifestations of sickle cell disease, caused by the breakdown of sickle red blood cells, which releases bilirubin. Bilirubin causes yellowish discoloration of the white parts of the eyes and can make urine dark brown. To get a better understanding of what the breakdown of sickle red blood cells means, to give it a point of reference, regular blood cells live for 120 days, while sickled red blood cells live for 2 weeks. And this is from SickleCell101.com. This breakdown of red blood cells is called hemolysis, and it's dangerous because it releases hemoglobin into the bloodstream, not just causing jaundice, but increased inflammation, pulmonary and systemic hypertension, leg ulcers, strokes, gallstones, etc. Hemolysis is natural, but excess hemolysis isn't. Any sickle cell person is prone to excess hemolysis as a natural occurrence to sickle cell. Therefore, jaundice is also natural in people with sickle cell. Alright, so let me just share with y'all real quick on a few things that, socially, jaundice has done to my life. So I was in high school and I was walking to class, and this admin stopped me while I was walking to class, and she started interrogating me. She was just like, "Oh, where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going to class." She was like, "Class started a minute ago." And I was like, yes, I know that I was running late because I just didn't want to go to class that quickly." And then she was like, "So what's going on with your eyes? What's up with that? What's going on with that situation?" And I was just like, "What you mean?" And then she was just like, "Your eyes are yellow." And I was like, well, I don't really know." And then she was just like, "You do know smoking is prohibited on campus." And I was like, "Well, I'm not smoking." And then she was like, "But why are your eyes yellow?" And I was like, "Hey, ma'am, I'm just trying to get to class." And then she was like, and she was like, "Okay, fine, go to class." Another time, I was on a school trip, and this kid asked me, "Do your eyes glow in the dark?" And of course that's a stupid question, but then this kid, he was younger than me, and so I tried to just play with him a little bit, and I said, "No, it doesn't glow in the dark, but it does make me see at night." And he was like, "That's so cool." And then I just started talking about all the sickle cell superpowers that my eyes kind of had. He didn't really understand it, but then I just kind of let him think whatever. Basically, in general, I'm a pretty confident guy, but due to jaundice and sickle cell, I tend not to look people in the eye when I should. I'd be lying if I said my eyes don't affect my self-esteem some. My eyes are white most of the time, but when it's, jaundice, like when that jaundice kicks in, it really is hard to kind of hide that from people, because people like the eyes, like they say the eyes are the window to the soul. Like they see that part of you at all times, regardless of how, like, you can close your eyes, but then you need to see people. Like people need to see you see them. So it's still like socially, I'm still trying to navigate. And it is a sort of insecurity with me. I wear glasses, so that's kind of like I see them as like a shield against the jaundice, I guess. But yeah, just another quick anecdote. I remember that one time my high school dean called me into her office because she noticed that my eyes were, in her own words, dark orange/brown. Unlike the Karen who stopped me accusing me of smoking, she knew what sickle cell was and was empathetic to my situation. Needless to say, jaundice is a major byproduct of sickle cell, and though it isn't painful, its harmful side effects can't be understated. This article by Sickle Cell Disease News speaks about jaundice more in depth, but this is only one of the many eye-related symptoms caused by sickle cell. Next, I will discuss sickle cell retinopathy, how it manifests, and how it's treated, and how I plan on treating it for me. Before addressing the retinopathy, let's remember that your body needs blood to function, even your eyes. And sickled blood cells can form and block blood vessels anywhere in your body, even in your eyes. So, retinopathy is a term used to describe when the retina, aka the part of the eye responsible for seeing, gets damaged. The term retinopathy is an umbrella term for any damage that is done to the retina. Signs of retinopathy, according to Sickle Cell 101, are floaters, black spots, or blurry vision. Retinopathy can cause partial or complete vision loss, develop slowly or suddenly, and can get better on its own or require intervention. There is a gamut of retinopathies other than sickle cell, including hypertensive, premature, and most notably diabetic. All of these different subsets of retinopathy have their own pathology, or just ways of progressing and different effects that it has on the patient. In the case of diabetes, it's the high glucose levels that causes damage to the blood vessels in the eye and causes it to leak and bleed. And in the case of sickle cell, it is the red blood cells and inflammation.
But wait, there's more.
In the case of diabetic, there is mixed evidence that the progression of retinopathy is worse when one has both diabetes and sickle cell, aka making you double blind. And just to add to that, this ain't that type of blindness that you see in the movies where you can still see and you sense the stuff, and you still need to like go do a cane, you need to learn braille. Like, this ain't the Daredevil kind of blindness. You still this ain't that. This is not you ain't finna be a superhero after you become blind. Like, stop it. Speaking of double blind, I'm just kidding, this study wasn't double blind, but there was a study by Ophthalmology Science that says individuals with diabetes and sickle cell represent a vulnerable population with a high burden of potential for healthcare morbidity. The results of this analysis suggest that diabetes/sickle cell individuals may have worse visual acuity trends, an increased likelihood of both diabetes-related retinal disease and eye disease requiring procedural intervention. However, with this study, it's hard to know what disease was the root cause of the retinopathy, either sickle cell or diabetes. It was definitely more common for people with both to develop the retinopathy versus one. There are two types of retinopathy that may impair or erase one's vision: proliferative and non-proliferative. Non-proliferative is caused by deteriorating blood vessels, which causes blood cells to leak out, damaging the retina. And proliferative is when new underdeveloped blood vessels try to replace the deteriorating or narrowed blood vessels. These fragile new blood vessels can break open, and the bleeding causes the retina to detach, which causes more bleeding. According to this article by Sickle Brazil, the retinal manifestations of sickle cell disease can be non-proliferative, yielding diagnostic value, or proliferative. In the latter case, there is a real risk of ocular morbidity. Both non-proliferative and proliferative manifestations are caused by erythrostasis second to sickling. And erythrostasis is just an overflow of blood cells. Like your body just has an unnatural amount of red blood cells. So to paint a picture, think of when in Ant-Man Quantumania, the Ant-Man went and partnered with Kang for a little bit to go down and get this tool to help him, escape basically the quantum realm. And down there, Ant-Man had, limited time because he kept multiplying and multiplying. That's basically erythrostasis, like the scene where he had like a bunch of him and it just kind of kept growing and growing. Erythrostasis in a nutshell is just a high concentration, and that causes a what? A blood clot. So that, just to give a little side note on erythrostasis. This is all a consequence of the constant death and rebirth of blood cells associated with sickle cell. Due to the nature of the eye, technically it doesn't feel when there is a quote-unquote pain crisis happening. Blood cells in the eye just start sickling, deteriorating, and dying. And then the blood vessels meant to replace the old ones bleed out, forming what's called C fans, damaging the retina. And this report by the Wiley Online Library notes that a young man from Ghana developed latent proliferative sickle cell retinopathy after a repeated injury to his left eye during football. And the surprising part is that he had the sickle cell trait, not the disease. All genotypes, it appears, are at risk of retinopathy. The Brazil article states, although these sickle cell trait individuals often show no relevant clinical manifestations, they may present various retinal changes such as hemorrhages, exudates, angioid streaks, acute chorioretinal infarction, chorioretinitis, vitreous hemorrhage, retinal vascular abnormalities such as tortuous dilated retinal veins, microaneurysms, central retinal artery occlusion, and retinal proliferation. The article also notes that sickle cell SC type is more likely than sickle cell SS type to get retinopathy. Likelihood for sickle cell retinopathy in SS and SC types are 15/43% respectively. And see, one thing about me is I'm always going to try to be in the top percentile of anything that I'm doing.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I always am in the top percentile, but I try to be. And it didn't change with sickle cell. Like, I'm in the top 15% of SS genotypes with the retinopathy. So, this is just one of them things. It's just, just how it is. That is why prevention is so important with people with sickle cell, so that they can catch these things early. This is, luckily for me, I did catch the retinopathy early, and so it is likely that I will fully recover from this. However, if you don't go and keep regularly checking up on your eyes, there is, a way for it to sneak up on you, and you don't have any resources at the end of the day to reverse the damage already done. That kind of leads us into treatments for sickle cell retinopathy. Really, the only two treatments that my ophthalmologist told me was you can get a drug that they have in the needle that they stab into your eye, and that's one way. And then the other way is surgery, and it's not the same as LASIK surgery. It's a surgery called laser photocoagulation, and just like it sounds, it's them shooting a laser into your eye to to destroy the blood vessels that are leaking from the retina. So really, those are just the only two that are available, is the frequent injections of drugs into your eye, because it's not just one time they shoot a needle in your eye. You got to do it multiple times on a kind of routine basis. And then the laser photocoagulation. Neither of them don't sound exactly pleasant to me, but I have to choose one, and basically I am running out of time. My next appointment is in 3 months, and I have to report to my ophthalmologist and say, hey, I am going with option A or B, because since the last video that I recorded, there has been new floaters in my eyes, and that's a sign that it's getting worse and it isn't getting better. So I definitely have to choose one, and this is the only two solutions at my disposal. And of course, when I get these solutions, I will make a video saying about like doing the surgery and what the results were, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But for now, I have something special for you guys for the next video. I met this woman who don't live that far from me, who also has sickle cell retinopathy, but it was in later stages. Like, she is partially blind in one eye and totally blind in the other eye. And so the next video will be me interviewing her on her progression with the sickle cell retinopathy and how it affects her and her daily life. So stay tuned for that video, because in all honesty, she is truly a remarkable and outstanding woman. Sickle cell has its way of creeping up on you when you least expect it. And even when she was going through those trials, she never let that stop her from, doing what she loves and having her life live to the fullest. And so it just is an inspiring story, and in general, it will help me as I navigate this sickle cell retinopathy journey for me. And hopefully, if you guys are dealing with something similar, it will help you guys. So to wrap this video up, when these situations arise, my mother is who I draw my courage from. She lived 50 years with sickle cell and never complained about it once with me. I was 12 when she died, but I still remember the lessons that she taught through her example living with sickle cell. She approached this disease so gracefully that I only hope to match a fraction of it. I will make a dedicated video about her one day, because one thing about sickle cell is how you teach your kids how to live with it when you're gone. And that is exactly what my mother did. And so I thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.